Hello everyone and welcome to this week's behind the scenes devlog video, and this week I'm going to be adding a load of underwater species into Equilinox. So the plan this week is just to get a load of new models into the game, and then next week I'll concentrate more on their behaviour. So to start with, I've just created this small list of models that I need to add into the game this week, and as you can see I've just created the first one, this new seaweed model, and next I'm going to have a go at creating a turtle model. So as you can see, I've just very quickly put these new models into the game now. So we've got the seaweed and the turtle here. The turtle's just using the sheep's AI at the moment, and the seaweed is just growing like grass. I just wanted to see how they'd look in the game and check that there's nothing I have to change before I go any further. There have been a few problems with trying to get the seaweed to grow underwater though, a few graphical problems. You can see that when I put the seaweed under the water, it has a few issues with being rendered under the water, stuff to do with transparency and the way that the water's rendered, so I'll have to have a look at that in a bit. But first up, I'm going to have a go at creating some fish models. This morning I've been working on adding the fish into the game, so I've created a new component here to deal with the fish's movement, and I have now added that first new fish species into the game. So you can see in this lake here there are now a few little fish swimming around, and I did also change the graphics for the water a bit to deal with some of the problems that I mentioned earlier to do with the transparency and stuff. So the water is now a little bit less blue and a bit clearer, but I think it still looks okay. Just been trying to change the default colours of the terrain around the water areas to make them look a bit more like sand and to make it look a bit nicer under the water. But as you can see, I'm having a few difficulties with that at the moment. So I've just been doing a bit more thinking about the water, because one thing that I've noticed while I've been adding these new underwater species into the game is that it's actually really tricky to see what's going on under the water, and even trickier to click on things under the water, because of the distortion that's going on with the refraction. So I've just been trying out a few different graphical effects for the water that would solve this problem. So here you can see that only the reflection is distorted and the refraction isn't distorted at all, so you can very easily see what's going on under the water and select things if you need to. And I was also considering having an option which would allow you to switch between nice pretty looking water with refraction and everything, and just still simple, easy to see through water like this. But I'm still just trying out a few ideas, and hopefully I can come up with something that works and still looks good. I've just spent the last hour or so working on the fish's AI, so they now actually swim towards a randomly generated target, and then when they reach that target they turn around and swim to a new randomly generated target, and that just keeps on going indefinitely. So it's pretty simple stuff, but it doesn't need to be too complicated because it's just for these little fish. And I also added a kind of wiggling motion to their bodies when they move forwards to make them look a little bit more fish-like. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it, and I'm pretty happy with it. Next up, I'm going to have a go at creating the next model in Blender, which is going to be a water lily, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this in low poly, but I will do my best. This evening I'm just going to try and add the other new species into the game. So as you can see, I've added this new fish species into the game, which is looking pretty cute. They do have a bit of a problem with going onto the land, which obviously isn't great, so I need to sort that out. That's just something I need to tweak in their AI. But apart from that, they're looking pretty good. So next I'm going to try and add in the water lilies. As you can see, I've now added these water lilies into the game, and this was actually a little bit complicated because they're the first plant that always grows at exactly the same height in the world, despite whatever the terrain height is, because obviously all the other plants grow at the height of the terrain, but these grow at the height of the water, which is constant over the whole map. So I had to change how the kind of dropping and planting mechanics work for them. And also you can see that they're bobbing up and down slightly. They're not actually moving with the water. That was just a bit too unnecessarily complicated to get that working. So I'm just making them bob up and down randomly at the moment, which looks all right. There are a few little graphical issues with them. They've got these rather strange reflections, which I'm not too happy with. Also the shadows that they cast at the bottom of the lake I'm not too keen on, and they have a bit of an issue when they die and fade out. There's a transparency issue with the water. But apart from that, they're looking alright. I might tweak the colour a bit because it's a bit strong at the moment. But yeah, they're not looking too bad. To finish off the day today, I've just added the final new underwater species into the game for this week, which is this new seaweed species. I've just finished adding all of the icons for the new species into the game, as you can see here, and also for the first time ever I now have enough species in the game to go onto the second page of the species shop, so that is pretty exciting. So that is going to be it for this week. Next week I'm going to be working more on these new species, improving their AI and movement and stuff like that, and I'll probably also try and add in a few new species as well. Before I finish, I need to give a big shout out to the top Patreon supporters from last month, who were Crazy Rusky, Jerry Bradshaw, Danny D, NASA, Blue Nova and Benjamin Fuller, so a massive thank you to you guys for your continued support. But yeah, that is it for this week. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you all next time.